You guys are doing excited that you're here. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm going to start on time today. And today I'm going to be talking about healing your inner child. So many of us don't realize that a lot of the wounds that we experience, are a lot of the wounds and the experiences that we have in our day-to-day life, those triggers that we get are literally linked to our inner child. And many people don't understand. Hello, Emiliano. Hello, Emily. A lot of people don't understand what the inner child's job is, what the inner child is. And therefore, today, that's what I want to talk to you about. Carl Jung said that the inner child is actually the divine child, and it's a part of our whole integrated self. And so in order for us to be our true self, we have to look at all parts of ourself, and we all have many different aspects of our personality that are some of us might hear voices. We might hear voices in our head, and that doesn't mean you're schizophrenic, so don't worry. It just means that sometimes that self-talk, some of the language that we hear, that we're processing, a lot of times there's different sounds to it. Sometimes you might hear a younger voice. You might hear the voice of a parent. You might hear, the voices are very random and quite different. And you may not observe that or know that unless you're aware that there is the voice, many voices in the head. And so just by taking a moment to recognize that internal awareness and really step into recognizing that we are not the voices. We have thoughts, and we have feelings, and we have behaviors that exist in this inner family, and that inner family are all those voices that coexist with us. And to understand our inner child, we really need to understand our personality. And we can't do that if we're spending so much time in criticism, in shaming ourselves, fearing or worrying, the worst possible case scenarios. And so if we're sitting with understanding that we are perfectly, imperfect, and if we're recognizing that we have genes in our body, many of us have heard of epigenetics. We have genes in our body that are turned on or turned off at different times of our life. We might go through an experience, a trauma. We might experience something really big in our life that triggers that opening. It triggers that gene to turn on. And this may not even have anything to do with you. Okay, and this is really important to understand, because there's parts of what happens to us that happens in our, when we are little, right? That inner child that gets wounded, hears things, see things. But then there's also that other part that many of you have heard me talk about before, that is in the genes. And now it's been transferred into your genetic disposition. And now you're turning on genes that had nothing to do with you, but it had to do with your father, your grandfather, your grandmother, your great, 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 whatever. And so we understand that, we're just these beings walking around with all this evolutionary ancestral baggage, and also the good stuff too. So I'm not going to downplay that. Like, we all obviously have a lot of good, but it's not the good that we get trapped in. Wouldn't it be amazing if we got trapped in all the good genes, and all the good epigenetics, and all the good voices, and all the good people in our life that spoke life and breath into us? And wouldn't it be so great if we got trapped in that? But most of the time we focus on the shadow parts of ourselves. We focus on the negative. We focus on what's not working, and we blow it up and make it bigger and bigger. And then we find ourselves not manifesting or attracting or living coherently with the vision we have for our life. And that's where we become unhappy, unfulfilled, unsettled. So Dr. Young really talked about the personality is the psyche, right? And there's three components of the psyche. You have the ego. We hear about the ego a lot. Okay, this is the conscious mind. And this is also very much related to the third dimension. So what is the third dimension for those of my quantum physicist fans out there, or metaphysical fans? The third dimension is what we can see. It vibrates at a lower frequency. Okay, so the chair I'm sitting on, my body, this is all a lower vibration from that which is connected to the higher vibrations closer to source. Regardless of what your religiosity is or your spirituality is, source holds the highest vibration. Anything that we can. So ego likes to really connect to that which it can prove in front of itself. But what, I love about Joe Dispenza's work is he talks about only literally 1%, I think is the number. Only 1% is actually reality. So there's actually a 99% of reality that we don't even see before us. How crazy is that? So with that being said, many of us live in that ego state when we are in our shadow self, when we're working on our inner child, or when we're in our drama or our trauma. The other part of ourself is the personal unconscious state. And this is, you're not currently conscious, but you could be. For example, in that conscious state, you may have these beliefs, but they're not these beliefs or these stories or these fears or whatever, but it's not awakened yet. Then you have your collective unconscious space, this is like our psychic inheritances, which we talked about before, which is what has been passed down, not just like I said, epigenetically or in our genomes or in our DNA, but it's actually interesting all the science that they're uncovering with the energy around our bodies. Okay, so as I was with at Dr. Joe Dispenza's advanced retreat last week, and what they have found, so much proof in everything that we do. Okay, everything we do. So if we go into that meditative state every day and we're connecting with source and we're in the higher vibration, that actually affects everyone connected to us. Okay, so they've been able to measure it scientifically. They've been able to prove scientifically that this is a fact. So they took two twins. They took a twin set, and they took one twin, put them in a room to where they meditated for quite some time. And they were measuring their brain waves during this period, and they put the other twin in another room to watch a really boring documentary. And they were also measuring the brain waves there. What they concluded, see, when you meditate, the brain is releasing hormones that actually go into the body and heal the body. That's why you hear of these incredible medical stories of people curing themselves, the people curing themselves of something. Okay, and so it's because they're releasing hormones that are actually healing the body. So what they uncovered was that the twin that was meditating, all the hormones that were released in that twin that they were able to measure was also happening in the twin that was across the city in a room watching a boring documentary. So what's so incredible about this is that we're finding that what you do matters. And that's why it's so important for you to really pay attention to that inner child that is screaming and crying. It's quite innocent. It just doesn't quite yet how to heal itself. The ego, the inner child can be quite self-centered. Is there a time in your life, or maybe that time is now, where you have found that you can be self-centered? That about myself, like when I've been in something that just seems overwhelming to my my body, overwhelming to my senses. I have a tendency to go, I've had a tendency to go in. Anybody else do that? Like, you don't really put yourself out there. You don't expose yourself much. You don't give as much. And you say to yourself, well, I'm just going to spend my time here. And then when I feel better, I'm going to then go and share my light, right? So that's quite a normal process that we just retract to when we're not dealing with the wounded inner child. So there's nothing wrong with you. However, what we have to recognize is that pattern, and we want to break that pattern, because it is that pattern that is keeping us from our greatest, highest self while we're here on this planet. And it happens to every single one of us. So, you may admire many people out there in the social media world or in the world in general, and you might see that they appear to have their life in order, and they may, but the truth and the reality is that every soul that that is really experiencing this human experience is truly at some point going to go through the work. And if they don't, you will see in tremendous suffering. You will see these souls will begin to attach more closely to that part of their shadow. Their shadow is that dark side of themselves. And you might see this, someone retracting into an obsession, right? We've all done that at some point, right? Where we would distract ourselves with something and get obsessed with it. Sometimes that can lead to good, and sometimes that can lead to not so good. So it's just the awareness that these patterns that we have that are no longer serving us is likely because we have that child, that inner child that needs some love. And what's interesting is the adolescent part of us is this, have you ever been, remember when you were a teenager? And when you just knew you knew everything, and or maybe you have a teenager and they just know everything, so you try to share things and they're like they know it all. And so we move from this adolescent self-important, phase of our evolution to more of this, I know everything and the world revolves around me, and that's our teen years. And you might actually know adults right now that are stuck in one of those life patterns. Anybody know? I absolutely do. And I actually know the times for myself when I have been stuck in that. And it was very recently in the last couple of years when I got stuck in a self-centered pattern, because my shadow self, my inner wounded child came out because she was scared. She had an experience that happened that was quite, traumatizing for her in many ways over a course of a period. And so I had to, at the time, I didn't recognize what was happening, because I thought, here I am in my 40s. I've done a lot in my life. I've done a lot of work. I've been around a lot. I've done a lot. I didn't think that this was possible at that stage of my development and my growth for me to have to experience that. But boy, was I wrong. So it was really scary at times, of like, oh my goodness, what's happening? And what I uncovered was that the little wounded little girl that I kept kind of imprisoned, I put her in a safe place, in a way, just really protected but not protected. Do you know what I mean? And so I would guard her and protect her by not opening my heart. Okay. So I could easily open my heart to strangers all the time. I would give love, give love, give love, but I wouldn't allow people to get very close to me. And because when I did, somehow my heart was broken, or they left or betrayed or broke my trust, something that was connected to what I experienced as a young child. Okay. Anybody have anybody in your life that was like that? Anybody deal with trust issues? Anyone deal with the fear of abandonment? Anybody deal with betrayal? Those are all part of the inner wounded child. How did I address that? Well, number one, I had to recognize that it was okay that I was going through this, and not busy myself with achievement and work, which is what I did for most of my life. Anybody of you busy yourself with something to distract yourself from really doing the work? And that's what I did. And it felt good, right? It felt good to help people and people to say, oh my gosh, you changed my life. Thank you. I love you. Da, da, da. I was like, wow, I've got love and connection here. I feel safe. This is beautiful. All right. But when the work really had to, I really had to sit in the work. I really had to sit in the fire. Nobody was coming to save me. Nobody was going to make it feel better until I worked on her. So, we get trapped in these time warps sometimes, and it gets worse when we try to shut the inner child off. So it could have been that you were in a classroom and someone made fun of you, or a teacher made fun of you, or kids made fun of you, or girls were mean to you, or guys were mean to you, or you weren't athletic enough, you weren't smart enough, you weren't good enough, you felt not included. I really want you to take a moment today after we do this work, and I want you to write down those memories, those triggers, and those feelings, those times in your life that something occurred that really affected you in a way that caused your confidence level, your security level, your safety level to diminish. It could have been that when you spoke your voice, people laughed. So now you don't want to speak your voice anymore. It could have been that you had been sexually abused and somebody took advantage of you without your will. Someone tried to force their will upon you, and then that created a wounded inner child. Whatever it might be, I'm telling you, if you want to do your conscious work on this planet, if you really want to evolve to the next level, if you really want to free yourself, you're going to have to sit with these feelings that don't feel good. You're going to have to go back to the memory to heal it, which is why you're here today. And it's no coincidence that you're here today hearing this message, because this is a place you've called this into your awareness. You've called this into your life so that you could sit with it and start to heal it. And I have been doing the healing so I can now teach you. And that's what we're called to do, right? Once we heal it, or when we're in it, we're called to teach it. So you're going to be sitting with friends, acquaintances, people you know in your life, and they're going to be suffering from something that you've healed from. And now you're called. You're called. You don't have to have a huge social media following. Actually, those people that don't have a huge social media following are typically the ones that are changing the world the most. Why? Because they are humble and they're hungry and they're working with souls on more of a deeper level, connecting with everyone that they meet and everyone they run into. You don't have to have a huge network in order to change the world, to change your world. So when we feel threatened, and I want you to think about this for a minute, when you have felt threatened, do you revert back to an old pattern? Do you run away? Do you chase something to try to fix it? I know that there were times, like my partner and I have talked about this, where I like to fix things right. I kind of have that you know how men like to fix things? Like something's broken, they want to fix it. I have that masculine tendency at times. When I see something not working, I just want to fix it. I just want to get done with it. Share your feelings, share this, let's get it out, let's talk about it, and let's be done, right? Well, so this was conflicting for my partner and I at many times, because sometimes he just needs to go be alone and walk and think it through. He comes back, he's a new person. For me, I just want to fix it in the moment. I want to talk about it. I want to get it out. We're done. And so it was really crazy, because when in these moments when I wanted to talk about it and he just wanted to go take a beach walk or a mountain walk, I'm feeling like he's walking away. Why would you walk away and not stand here and talk about it? And he's feeling like, why can't she just give me my space? Isn't it interesting? So at times in those moments, we would just butt heads until we realized, wait a second, why don't we just give each other what each other needs? So he would take his space, and then he would come back and recognize, I really needed to talk. So he was aware that she needs to talk. She needs to get this out. We can't ignore this, because that just gets bigger and bigger. And we were able to just agree that that was the best way to heal that inner child, the inner child that wants to run away, the inner child that wants to rush into, right? And to fix things, all inner child stuff. So becoming aware of it and not shaming it and not getting mad and, like all those things, it's really important, especially if you're in a relationship, whether it's a relationship with your partner, whether it's a relationship in business, whether it's a relationship with yourself, all relationships. It's important to sit with that and recognize that if you run, it will chase you. You're not getting away from it. Do you understand? You think, oh, I'm, whew, I don't, if I close the door on it, I don't have to see it. I don't have to look at it. I don't have to touch it. Don't have to feel it. Don't have to smell it. Don't have to experience it. That's it. I'm safe. But you are not. You are not. At some point, it's going to be tomorrow or 20 years from now, you're going to get a wake up call and it's going to make you address it. That's why I love having these conversations now, because if I can assist you now to really sit with this stuff now, then you're going to avoid a lot of pain and suffering that's unnecessary, right? Because spirit doesn't want you to suffer. We create unnecessary suffering because we're so damn stubborn, right? Sometimes we're so damn stubborn. We just don't, we get really comfortable with the way things are and we don't want to change, or we think that changing is going to actually keep us safer or make us feel better. But in all reality, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's actually the prison that we keep ourselves locked in based upon our own limiting beliefs and our actions is what's creating the suffering. Okay. All right. So when we experience these things, how many of you experience helplessness? You experience pain, rage? Anybody get really angry? It was so funny. Guns and I'd laugh about this now, but I was telling, we were spending time with his mom and dad, and I was like, nobody ever in this planet actually makes me as upset and angry sometimes as you, and nobody, makes me open my heart and be so loving as you. And so one day we were having this this disagreement, and I just started which is like as angry as I get. And it was like we just caught it in the moment, and we both just start laughing so hard because it was actually really funny to see me getting really angry. And it was just a moment where we just broke the ice. It was just like, okay, what little wounded Christy's coming out right now that needs some love, that needs some connection. And so that is really profound and incredibly conscious when you can be liberated with your spiritual partners, right? What are spiritual partners? Our spiritual partners are the people that we decide to do life with, who are choosing to take a spiritual path in terms of the way that they choose to see the world and choose to show up with you. And, that's what I loved about Gary Zukav's work. Gary's wife, Linda, passed away recently, and Gary wrote Seed of the Soul. And he was always a hero of mine, spiritual hero of mine. And actually, he lived in the town that I used to live in, and we had dinner together before. And it was so profound to me to see their connection and how, they weren't married, but they wrote a book called Spiritual Partnership. And it was really just beautiful if you reflect on those souls that do show up in your life, that they are your spiritual partners. They have chosen to come here and be here with you in this embodiment to test you and to test us, or to challenge us to evolve and to heal our ship, right? And you are that for others, right? You actually might think, gosh, why do I always create drama? Why is shit always happening in my life? Why is this? Why is that? The beautiful thing about that is that the cool part about maybe you are not maybe, you are the test for others that actually need to heal, right? So you might be someone's trigger, but someone else is also your trigger. And the blessing in that is there's nothing wrong with that. And you don't intentionally go to look to trigger people. That's not what you're doing. But if someone's being reactive to you, they don't like you, they call you names, they talk about you, what a blessing for them. Because what's happening is they're resisting some part of themselves. They see in you something they want to be most like, or they see in you that a part of themselves that they used to be, or a part of themselves that they are. Wow, right? So you can definitely look at things like, we all have these people that don't like us, right? We think they don't like us, and that's the thing, is sometimes we create these beliefs and these stories that aren't true. How many times I remember there were many times I would be driving in my car in my old town a couple years, no, maybe a decade ago, and I would have people say to me, "Oh, Christy, I always drive by you and you never wave at me. I thought you didn't like me." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." Like, no, 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 no. Literally, when I'm in my car, I'm usually listening to personal development and I'm in a zone and I'm driving or I'm somewhere else. But they, bless their hearts, in their minds, created the story that I did not like them. Okay. So I just want to tell everyone that watches this and observes this training, if that has ever happened to you and I've been the benefactor of your suffering, just know there's nothing wrong with you. You're perfectly loved and you're perfectly safe. And it's just usually I'm in my own world. So if that is the truth for me, imagine that's likely the truth for others, right? So many people are dealing with stuff in their life and they're in that ego protective state, which is that state of self, um, that state of self. And sometimes people are just trying to survive. They're trying to figure it out. They're internal. They're not thinking about you. Unfortunately, they're not thinking about you. Because if we were all thinking about each other more, not in a way of like, oh, do they love me? Am I loved? Am I needed? Am I wanted? That it's actually more about, you know, am I embodying am I embodying compassion? Am I embodying the giver mindset? Am I giving love? Or am I giving judgment? Am I giving fear? What am I dealing out here on a daily basis? With it all being energy, we need to be really aware of that, right? Because if we walk around and we're in a giving mindset from a truthful heart and a loving heart, guess what happens? This is the song of life. You will begin to experience miracles in your life. You will begin to experience people show up in your life. You will begin to go into a state of divine living where you're happier, things happen for you, your business takes off, your partner changes, or you change your partners. You get the best body you've ever wanted. You attract the most incredible friends you've ever, you could ever wish for. All of this begins to happen because now when you walk into your life, you're not thinking, oh my gosh, Christy didn't look at me. She didn't wave at me. She must not like me. I'm not good enough. Oh, I should just go back into my shell, right? No, if you're thinking when you're going out into that world, you're sending a blessing to every soul. They don't look at you or they don't text you back or they don't spend time. You're sending a loving prayer to them and you send love and light and you say, I wish only the very best for that soul right now. I hope everything in their life is turning out to be everything they wish for, dream for, and desire. And when you do that, you are actually giving that gift to yourself because you can't give to another without you getting it yourself. Okay, this is I hope you're really letting this penetrate into your spirit now, because this is some gold that will help you in your processes of looking at that inner child and loving the inner child, but also manifesting and standing in that great self that you are, that personality, that vision that you've held for yourself for so long. So okay, so just like I mentioned before, everyone has a shadow. We all have those memories. We all have the emotional behavioral patterns that can really keep us stuck or keep us going backwards. But we need to make a choice. Now, I really want you to hear this. We need to make a choice to become an adult. Some of you are like, well, I don't want to become an adult. Adulting is hard. I don't mean becoming an adult that isn't playful, that isn't fun, that isn't living out loud and loving out loud. I mean, we can no longer allow our inner child to take the wheel and drive. And we know what that is. The inner child is afraid. The inner child doesn't turn. The inner child doesn't take the trip because the inner child says there's not enough time, not enough money, not enough of whatever, right? Because that's what the inner child heard growing up. Money doesn't grow on trees. You know, you're not enough. Who do you think you are? whatever those wounds are, that is the inner child speaking up and telling us, the adult, how to actually live. And with love, we need to reclaim ownership of the will. We need to recognize what's happening and lovingly say to our child, our inner child, I love you. You're safe. I hear you. I hear you. But I got it from here. I'm going to take the wheel and you're safe. Just know it. You're safe. I got you. Okay. So there's if you really want to dig deeper into the inner child work, there's an author called John Bradshaw, and he wrote a book, Homecoming, Reclaiming and Championing Your Inner Child. And he used this really, really cool, he created this container for the inner child. And I'm going to just share with you what the inner child represents from his perspective. So C, when we are in our inner child, you might see codependence. O, you might see offender behaviors. N, you might see narcissistic disorders. T, you might see trust issues. A, you might see acting out or acting in behaviors that are unhealthy. M, you might see magical beliefs. I, you might see intimacy dysfunctions. N, you might see non-disciplined behaviors. A, addiction, compulsive behavior. T, thought distortions, or E, emptiness, which leads to apathy and depression. So this is all attributes and aspects of the inner child. Okay. What we find is that a lot of children, us included, have had parents that were immature, right? I was thinking about this today when I was writing and working on the notes for this course, was that my mother had me at 15. She was a child raising a child. So no wonder, she was doing the best she could do. We all just do the best that we can do, right? Nobody has an intention to hurt people, destroy people. I mean, there might be a very few exceptions to that rule, but there's pure evil out there. I'm not blinded to that. But the truth is that everyone's just doing the best they can do. So a lot of my, fears that came from our insecurities or trust issues, or like, being afraid that am I really going to be able to be provided for? Can I really trust? Can I be safe here? Some of you may be able to relate to that, right? And, the thing is that we as adolescents, we're looking for stability. We're looking for safety. And if we don't get it, we then detach from it and we go into survival mode and decide we're going to figure it out on our own. Anybody relate to that? Yeah. So in the adolescent phase of our lives, many of us said, I've got to figure this out because I can't trust those that I've trusted to provide and take care of me in the way that I need to be taken care of. So it's not about fixing, necessarily what's happened to us or to our parents. It's accepting that we all have done the best that we could do in the moment, and we're all just reenacting what we've experienced, what we have felt. So one thing that I did, I remember learning this technique when I met Marianne Williamson years ago. And I had been struggling with a family member who I just felt this intense negative energy. And no matter how hard I tried to expand, they tried to pull me back into their comfort zone. And so when I was chatting with Marianne, she said, just imagine this person as a wounded baby, as a wounded child, and just hold them in your arms, hold them and rock them. And as you're holding them and rocking them, I really want you to feel the emotion of them being wounded and just give them love. And as I did this, I had tears just streaming down my face. I felt so much love and compassion. And I was doing this meditation for this soul, we had this complete shift in our relationship, completely changed, completely cured, completely healed. It did come with some yeah, actually healing them and you're healing yourself. So here's what I want you to do. I really want you to pay attention. I really want you to pay attention to these moments that you're going to get. I promise you that. Some of you feel like, oh my gosh, is it ever going to get, if you believe it's going to get better or believe that it won't, it's your call. But for me, I choose to believe it will. I choose to believe in and have certainty that I am here in Earth School to learn these lessons to evolve into the highest being that I am meant to be here. And I no longer want to carry the chains of the past or the chains of other people's decisions or hurts in with me on my journey. I want to bless it and release it. So I want you, when you experience this happening to you, I want you to go close your eyes by yourself somewhere alone, alone. And I want you to, we're going to all just take a moment to go here just together. I'm going to take you through a little exercise here because I want you to do it every day. Okay. So everybody just close their eyes for a minute, close your eyes. And what I want you to do is just take a deep breath and I want you to inhale life. All the worry, the fear, everything that you've been feeling from today.
Did she freeze? Or she's Did she freeze on you guys too? Oh, okay. Because the last I heard was breathe in and I was still holding it in. Okay. Okay. Oh, there you are. Okay.
You take their hand and you go to the couch and you sit with them and you hold them and you spend as much time as you need speaking into your wounded little self, that little 6-year-old girl or boy, 10-year-old girl or boy, and you say, I love you. I'm here to promise you and tell you that your life is going to be better than you could ever imagine. It's extraordinary. Trust me, I got you. I'm here for you. I'm waiting for you. I want you to hug them, hold them, kiss them, and tell them I'll meet you again soon. And you leave, and you get back in your car, and you go back to your home. And I want you to practice this. And I want you to practice this anytime you feel a feeling, a memory that comes up that's painful. I was showed in meditation, and I was focusing on a part of my body I wanted to heal, that I personally was going to heal. And when I was focusing on that, what's so bizarre is the feeling, I smelt my lunchroom from like middle school. I could, that lunchroom smell? Do you remember that? And the trays, the plastic trays, and I smelled it. There was nothing near me that was creating that smell. What I recognized was that there was this energy that I'm releasing that had something to do with that time. And what I related it to was I was on government. I had help. My mom, we were on welfare most of my life. And so I was the kid that had free lunches, and they gave kids that had free lunches a card, and they had a blue stripe on it, which meant that we were the poor kids, right? So all my friends were around me, and I would try to cover up the blue stripe on the ticket, and I would try to make sure nobody saw that I was the poor kid. What was so interesting was that emotion and that feeling was lodged into my body. Who would have ever thought that I would still be carrying this feeling of not feeling good enough, feeling like I was left out, feeling unsafe, whatever that might be. So I released it that day. So when you feel these feelings, allow them to come up, and it's not weird that you have a memory from something back then. This is a chance for healing. All right, my sweet friends, I've gone about 12 minutes over. Sometimes I get on tangents, but I guess today everything that was shared needed to be shared and needed to be spoken to you and spoken out of me, because that's just the way life is. I want to share that this Elevate Together community that we've put together. One thing that I have been unimpressed with in network marketing is sometimes the chasing, the overselling of the businesses or the products. And I think many of us can relate to that, right? So my partner and I realized that we wanted to create a new belief and community around what it is that we do. Because my life has been forever changed because of the personal development and calls like this, and people speaking into me and teaching me things that I never knew. And that was the one reason why I stayed and I was able to become as successful as I had become in the monetary sense, because I was in a growth community. And I thought to myself, so many people think that what we do is we're selling something. But how can I get to the masses for them to understand that we don't sell? Yes, we have products, which I'm going to highlight a product here in a moment, but it's really about helping you to become your very best self, period. And I hope and pray that the community that you feel most connected to is this one. And if it's not, please find one. That's what we're here for. We need to be in community. This is how we breathe. This is how we live. Those that are in communities live longer. And also those who have a lot of sex live longer too. So just going to encourage you to have some this weekend. So it's really important for us to come together. I don't care if you're a part of my organization or you're in someone else's or you're not even in it. I'm here to serve you and give you and share with you light. All right. And so on Wednesdays, we have a beautiful soul who teaches how to get out of debt and have financial freedom and have financial mastery. I mean, how many of us have struggled with the illusions of money and we get trapped and stuck? So we're really excited for Wednesdays. Every Wednesdays, her name's Paula. She's always on Wednesdays now live. Please jump onto those. It's 12 Eastern always. So, whatever time zone you're in. We do record them. We do have a YouTube channel. So for those of you down under in other parts of the world, you won't miss it because we'll have it recorded. Mondays, it's all about health. So it's going to be about your health and talking about different things for health. So Fridays are my day. So you're going to learn all kinds of different things. Today was healing the inner child. I'm also going to just put a shout out to, of course, one of my favorite products is the Arbonne Rescue and Renew oil. So if you've never actually used this massage oil, you will have the best massage of your entire life. Truly, I take it with me when I go get massages, and I have my partner use it on me. I use it on my partner. And not only is it the most incredible massage, but it also drains your lymphatic system. So it's a detox massage. So it's really important that we drain that lymphatic system and get everything moving throughout the body. So if you are not, you know, an independent consultant, you can always message the person who invited you to be a part of this. If they are a part of Arbonne, if they're not, you can always message me, and I'm happy to help guide you in the right direction. But we love you. If you want to join our community, so you get updates every single time we're live, you can just actually, I don't have it memorized here. Let me look and see if I can share with you the actual phone number for the community that you can text Elevate to it. The phone number is 323-310-2202. And that number, if you didn't hear that number, just message me and I'll send you the number, and you can text it, text Elevate, and you're going to get all the live updates of when we're live and when you're going to learn. We're going to have all kinds of leaders from around the world that are going to be teaching different things for free. You don't have to pay for this. Isn't that amazing? We just ask, if you're going to go buy toothpaste, we'd love for you to come buy it from us. Beautiful thing. If not, no worries. We don't care. We just want to serve you and love on you. So thank you for joining this conversation today. Thanks for showing up in your life. Do the homework. You are worth it. Love your inner child. Until we meet again, I'll see you later. Have a great I guess it's not Memorial, it's Labor Day, isn't it? Whatever day it is, have a great one. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.